Welcome back to another episode of the Quantium Cast. I'm your host Ryan Keir, and it is good to be back. We've had a long break, but we've been working on a lot that will hopefully be out for our listeners, subscribers, etc. to enjoy. But this new series that is out includes interviews with wonderful people who have either started up their own businesses, contributed in a way to society in terms of business and finance. The list goes on, but we hope that our listeners can take something from this in terms of motivation and work harder in achieving whatever their dreams may be. So this interview was with Beth Botham of Rejuvenate Kits. Beth was diagnosed with Hodgkin's lymphoma, a form of cancer, at the age of 17. She recalls feeling catastrophic. She had her exams in 4 months, and a university place was contingent upon her achieving good results. She had to take medication every half hour. She couldn't write because she had pain in her joints, but she kept going. She did not give up. Many of us, when we have a cold in the morning, we get lazy and we say, look, I might not go into work today, or I'm thinking of ordering some food from outside, not really getting up or something, and just spending more and contributing less to ourselves. Well, now Beth is 4+ years in remission, and in the interview coming up next, you'll hear about how Beth got through such a difficult time fighting the ultimate battle that is against cancer. Without further ado, here's Beth's story. Thank you so much for giving up your time to be here today. I'd like to first start by asking, maybe if you could summarize your journey for the sake of our listeners, maybe giving some background context of how you've got to this point today.
Sure. Thank you so much for having me. This is really exciting. So my journey, I'm 22 now. At 17, so back in 2015, I was diagnosed with blood cancer, and the real actual name is Hodgkin's lymphoma. I was told I had stage 2A, which meant that I had tumours in my neck and chest. I think there were about 12 in total. And at that point, I was diagnosed in the January. I was studying at sixth form, getting ready to do my final exams, my A-levels, which I spent long and hard hours revising and just prepping for. In the February, I started chemotherapy alongside school, did that for 4 months, finished chemotherapy 5 days before my exams began, was told that I was officially in remission in May 2015 as well, during my exams. So it was a time of emotional heights. And then got my results in the August, which surpassed any expectations I had before cancer. Went off to university in that September, so took no break. Very full on, very emotionally exhausting, mentally challenging. Went to university. In my third year and my second year, really, I started to address this whole thing and what I should do with it, because it was so fast. I didn't ever get a chance to fully look at it, at what it was, and do something with it. And I made a pact that I would create something positive that fills me with purpose and appreciation, and that changes this whole cancer thing from a negative to a positive. And that is what led me to creating Rejuvenate Kits, which I launched this summer, but I created straight out of university, and we provide cancer care kits as a gift for people going through cancer to help them manage their side effects and also feel supported.
Wow. I mean, you come across as very humbling in a sense that you've completely skipped over the really difficult journey that I can imagine you've gone through of fighting, once again, one of the greatest battles of all time, the fight against cancer. And I'm curious maybe about the mental health state that you were feeling at the time. How did you ever think about quitting, in terms of quitting the fight mentally? Did you sit back, or what was your approach at the time to make sure you kept going?
So mentally, it's a tough time. I think anyone that says it isn't is almost in denial. I know that people go through mental difficulties more so than others. Not everyone struggles completely, but yeah, it completely plummeted my mental health. I was more aware of it, and it completely was just destroyed, to be honest. And we mentioned before recording about mental health, and I said before, I was kind of bobbing along. I wasn't ever really aware of mental health. I never really felt like I had a problem with it. But being 17 and told you've got this, and at the time my biggest fear was failing my exams, it just blew my mind. My mental health was not great at the time, and I worked hard to really come back up and get over it, but it wasn't a linear recovery, and I mentioned that before. It because recovery isn't linear. I think the perception, which makes it hard for a lot of cancer patients, is that when you finish your treatment, you're fine again and you just bounce back and you go back to work or you carry on studying. And actually, for me, it felt like there was no difference. Although the drugs weren't being put into my body anymore, the effects were long lasting. I felt like they still were, which made it really difficult, because all of a sudden the support was a bit more distant. My family and my closest were amazing, but people's perceptions were kind of a bit out of line. So it meant that mentally, for instance, that was a time when I struggled, when I didn't expect that I would. So mental health has been a constant journey, almost like a heart rate monitor, just up, down, up, down. And that, I think, is just the journey of what life is.
Yeah. You mentioned the story, in fact, before we started recording, about you walked into class one day. Maybe if you could share that, that would probably help give a little bit of context for those who understand maybe going through cancer, how it is like.
Yeah. So I said about being, when you're going through that and you are mentally drained, you're vulnerable, you're exposed, you need to surround yourself with people that get you, that make you feel loved. And even now, not having cancer, and I feel like anyone can relate to this, when you're around certain people, you feel amazing. You leave feeling lifted, positive, your best self. You're living your best life. Whereas when you're around other people, you come away feeling just rubbish, or you're not genuine, or they didn't appreciate you, or you're just not fulfilling who you are. And I think when you have cancer, that is so important, because you more than ever need that support network, and you need to feel good, because there are certain elements in your life that are making you not feel good and you can't do anything about it. For instance, gaining weight or losing your hair, or your mobility, or you don't know what your hobbies are anymore and your time is gone. Whereas if you're around the people that love you most, they will make you forget about that in the moment, and you'll just genuinely have a good time. When I was ill, I said that I mostly spent time with people that cared, and my friends were amazing, but I carried on going to school. And there, obviously, you have the people in your year group you can't really control. And I went for my chemo session in the morning until like lunchtime. So I was in London, came back, then went to school, or sixth form, and went into the class late. And all the teachers were aware of my situation, and they didn't even expect me to go to school. So she didn't mind. I kind of put my head down and just like went to my seat and just tried to make as little fuss as possible, because I felt really embarrassed about how physically I was changing.
Which obviously
so
you
fast.
should have been,
Yeah, but it's just a tough thing. Like, the last thing you want to be is in front of people looking at you.
Yeah.
And a boy just called over, like from the back of the class, like, "Beth, why are you wearing a hat? It's warm outside." And that was after I lost my hair. And I was just like, oh man. At the time, I didn't know what to do. Like, some people are like, "Why don't you just say back, like rip into him?" But you're in such a fragile place. I didn't know whether to cry on the spot. I didn't know whether to say nothing. I didn't know whether to just explode and get angry.
Yeah.
You just don't need that. And that is a clear example of when you're at your most fragile, you need to be around the good people. And not saying that he is not a good person, but he didn't get me, and he wasn't sensitive to the subject. And even if your closest don't know what to say, they know what not to say. They know to love you and be empathetic towards you.
That's wonderful. I mean, that sounds absolutely great in terms of a response. A lot of the time we think, oh, these people, how can they be saying these things to us? I mean, I've had people say really bad things to me in the past, but then I think about maybe they're going through something in their lives. And, people like Gary Vaynerchuk talk about that whole idea of empathy, where we should know that, yes, they're probably going through something, but we don't know exactly what it is. So why should we immediately be angry or expect anything, nor positive nor negative from them? We should just be like, okay, they've said this, take it at face value and then move on, kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly.
Real important stuff. But I think we should probably talk a little bit more about your business, because I'm really interested in learning more. I saw your page on Instagram. I looked at the design, and goodness me, this design looks like it's a nice MNC's product. I mean, it's big. You're very talented. Do you make these products yourself?
Thank you. Well, I've designed them myself. So as I said, I started in my last year of uni, I kind of created my plan then. But when I graduated, I kind of did all of the branding from my desk at home, just kind of
Mhm.
my bedroom, in terms of what I wanted it to look like, the color scheme, the USPs, and then I've done a lot of it myself. So in terms of website creation, colors, social media, content creation, editing,
Wow.
fulfillment, everything.
All in one.
As for the packaging, I work with a supplier that creates that, because I think it would be one stretch too far actually trying to print
Yeah.
out boxes and things out of my out of my bedroom.
Sure.
But a lot of the inspiration has come from me. But I think it's so much easier when you create a business where you have been there, you are the target customer, because I know what I didn't like at the time, and I know that a lot of cancer related things were bright pink with bows, or very glaringly obvious, almost like, oh bless, and I wanted to feel luxury and spa like and looked after, and so that's what I created.
It's really classy. What are the things involved in each package then?
Thank you. So the cancer care kit, the USP really is that it is a full kit that will help you with all the side effects. So I thought about all the most common side effects that I experience and that cancer patients as a whole experience. And those are hair loss and regrowth, that whole journey there, and the anxieties attached to it, because you want it to grow back as fast as possible and to be healthy, and you're just conscious about it. Skin dryness, joint pain, muscle ache, lack of sleep, nausea, feeling sick, losing your appetite. These are just a few. And I created products that all target one of these. So for instance, the tea is in there, organic green tea, to overcome nausea, make you feel fresh. You just need a different taste in your mouth. That's what I felt in during chemo. And then, for instance, lavender oil is in there to help you sleep. You've got other essential oils to put in a diffuser in your bath to help with the joint pain and relaxing your muscles. And then you've got all natural shampoo and conditioner to help you with what to use on your head once your hair is gone. And then also when it starts to grow back, what do I now use? Because my products before, my just typical high street brands, they just don't feel sensitive enough. So there's so much. You've got a guidebook in there to guide you through that exactly says what all the ingredients are and their benefits. The tea, broccoli seeds as well, which are just fun to grow and also like a really great superfood. The shampoo, conditioner, the organic lip balm, and the essential oils.
That's wonderful. It sounds like you put a lot of thought into the products involved there.
Yeah, thank you. I really tried to, because I just thought it's from one cancer patient to another, and this is genuinely better than flowers or chocolates, which won't help you in the long run.
For sure. That's really nice. I think probably now that we've talked about your business, I'd love to hear about the moment you decided you wanted to make a business, and how it felt at first, and like what you set out to do making the business.
Yeah, so I've always known I wanted to go down this path, but I didn't know exactly. It didn't seem that glaringly obvious. So I've always been quite academic, but not really bothered about careers. Whenever I do an internship or a career, I just feel underwhelmed. I feel like I can do more than this. I just don't feel fulfilled. This isn't mine. And I know that I would give 110% to a career to then have the benefit put in someone else's pocket and me to be put in a box. And I just felt like I was more capable than that. I just hadn't given the opportunity, so I wanted to create my own opportunity. And then when this whole experience came, I just put two and two together and thought, my work ethic that I apply to anything in life, plus my kind of entrepreneurial spirit, plus this life experience, can combine to form something really powerful. And I thought about how I can help. So doing business, but in the most ethical way, because that's what I find really important for me. It's not just profit, it's passion as well. And that really combined to one evening creating this idea. And I felt like I thought about it, and it was one of those things like, if I leave this idea, it's always going to be something that I thought about but never went for. So I went for it, and that was the rest. That was history, really.
Wow, that's wonderful. With making the business, I assume there were probably quite a lot of challenges, but I wonder maybe who supported you in the beginning and kind of helped you come across to this journey.
I would say my boyfriend was very good. He encouraged me whenever I have moments of self-doubt or times where I'm like, oh, it's too big, or I don't really know. He'll help me just in terms of opening up my own mind. So instead of giving me ideas, he'll ask me questions for me to then instigate it myself, and also to show me that it's possible. because he's very similar to that. And I think my immediate support network, I found it very, very hard at the time, then and now, to actually find people that motivate me and think similarly, which I think we can touch upon as one of the areas of business that is incredibly hard. Because you go down a different path, and I feel like I'm wired differently now, and I think differently, and I don't want to do things that I wanted to do before. And it was very hard to find people that were like-minded, that can motivate me and make me a better person. So that was a tough part of business.
I see now that you're a one individual band in the case of running your day-to-day operations. You're the brand officer, the product designer, the CEO, the CFO, CTO. How's that been? How's managing all the sides of the business? And do you think once you maybe expand your range, maybe you're going to employ other people, or what's on your mind at the moment regarding that?
Oh gosh, it's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. Definitely, when I get opportunity to, I'll outsource, whether that's freelancers or getting people to do the bits that I don't like or I'm not as good at. But at the start, you kind of have to be prepared to do anything and everything, because you haven't yet proved yourself, you haven't yet grown. But it's crazy. I was explaining this to my family, how one day I'm doing the books, one day I'm creating the social media post, one day I'm fulfilling, one day I'm coming back with customer service. It's just never ending, and I think that is the most challenging thing. I've learned more in this process than I've ever learned in my education or in any job, because you are on your feet, you have to act, you don't know whether it's going to work, whether it's not. You just got to take the plunge, and you only get the responsibility. It's all on you, whether it works or if it doesn't.
Yeah. Wow, that's really cool. I mean, for me, obviously running a business, I feel really stressed a lot of the time. But then again, I feel if I wasn't doing it, then I don't know what else I'd be doing. So it's not like I'm doing it for the reason to just be running a business and then doing it well. I feel if I wasn't doing it in the first place, then what else would I be doing? Because with 9 to 5 jobs, it's difficult to sit down, really give it your all. But actually running a business takes more work than a 9 to 5 job. So we're effectively taking on twice the work for potentially no income, maybe a loss, and maybe a lot of mental strain coming on us on top of that. It's crazy.
Yeah, I completely agree. And you don't necessarily see the benefits at the start. You have to get used to putting the work in and not seeing a return, whether that's financial or results driven or data. It's just how it is. And it is harder. It's hard to motivate yourself sometimes when everyone around you is doing a 9 to 5 and you're creating your own business. And I always talk about this. It's short-term sacrifice for long-term gain. Short-term, I've had to sacrifice so many things, and potentially I'm seeing my friends do quite average jobs, but they're still going on holiday or having Friday at 5 p.m. having the best time ever. Friday at 5 p.m. does not exist for me. So yes, some people only ever see the benefits and they say, yeah, but you can go on holiday when you want, or you don't have fixed leave, or if you want to just go out, you can. And it's like, you're only seeing one side of the picture here. You also then come back and you're like, wow, I haven't done this, I need to work now, and there's no time off, which is hard. I think, like you said, it all relates to mindset, and you need to know how to balance that. Otherwise you're forever going to be anxious, and as someone new in business, I'm still learning about this and how to master that.
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, as you said, it's obviously about the drive, the motivation. I wonder maybe where you got your motivation and drive from.
To be honest, I have no idea.
Don't worry, we'll cut that part out.
No, I don't mind it being in, because I'm going to be transparent and say for so long I felt like the only one, like the odd one out in so many cases, because I'm wired differently. I can't switch off, which is great because I deliver high results, but it's exhausting always giving 110% to everything, or always being it's not even the high achiever, because I wasn't necessarily academic. I just worked hard. It wasn't. It's not my number one skill set. I was quite good at it, but it's exhausting. And to be honest, I know people that have some kind of aspects of my mindset, but I look around and I very rarely see anyone in my circle that is similar, and that's isolating also. But I just know that I've got to be true to myself, and it just comes from within. So that's what I'm going to do.
In the past, have you had people tell you that you won't be successful, and maybe how have you dealt with it? And kind of, if you could talk to them now, what would you say? In obviously a nice way.
I think no one outright has said you're not going to be successful,
Mm.
because firstly, I just want to say I'm not, in my eyes, I'm not successful now.
Oh, yeah.
I'm on
Yeah.
the road. So
None
like
of us
for
are.
me,
We're growing.
yeah. So for me, like, there's no end point, and I don't say that in terms of greed or anything, but it's just like I am the first person to pick faults with myself,
Yeah.
and I'm only just starting. But even then, like, I have really separated myself from the norms. I already have come so far, but yeah, I just see it as the beginning. But no one has necessarily said you're not going to do this, because I think the real people that looked into me just thought I could. But it's smaller things. It's smaller things like, oh, do you want to go out here, and I don't know, like, for me, I don't drink, so go out drinking and do this and do this and do all these activities that I don't really see a return on. I do things that give me a return, and not financially, but do something that gives me a benefit. So if I spend an hour listening to a podcast, I get a return because I learn something. So I'm not going to do something that's going to make me feel rubbish about myself, and is a waste of time. So I'll say no. Sorry, in a polite way, but just like, I'll meet up with you doing something else, but I'm just not really down for that right now. And I'll be made to feel bad, and then I'll work that evening, and I will feel bad about myself. They haven't necessarily said anything, but it'll be a bit like, oh, like, you just have to make certain decisions in your life, and maybe say no to some things, or distance yourself from some people, and the undertones are like, oh, why is she doing that, or who does she think she is? And that is almost like a stab that's like, what are you doing? You can't do this. So there are subliminal messages. That's been a bit like, I don't really understand what you're doing. Or people that still check up on me to see if I've succeeded yet, but will never comment or will never send me praise. But they're the first people to see my Instagram stories.
Yeah. What is it with that social media stuff that everyone will look at your pictures, they will like your pictures, but they won't share anything when you have something, you ask them, and they're like, okay, yeah, I'll share it. They don't share it. You mentioned that whole like judgment thing. I mean, first of all, I'm with you on sober society. I don't drink myself either. With the value of things, you do something that has value, listening to a podcast, reading maybe. I know it feels really sickly, doesn't it? You look and you think, damn, they're having such a nice time. Why didn't I go along? It happened just the other day. I was like, I really want to go along, but I've got to work on some biz stuff. What do? Stay at home. But then again, if we look back 3 years and we see those same people doing that, we look at ourselves and we think, damn, if I was with them, I wouldn't have accomplished this.
Yeah. I think it's all about balance, though. If I think I'm going to go somewhere and enjoy myself and love the people I'm around, it's good quality people, I will 100% do it. But the time when I'm made to feel bad about myself, or made to feel like self-conscious in that environment, and they're all like geeing me on to do something I don't want to do, then I'll completely separate myself and know that my value is better spent elsewhere.
That's totally fair. It's good that you have some self-control in that way, because a lot of people in society these days, we're influenced. I mean, myself, a lot of the times, my judgment on some things, if I see a post on Instagram, I'll be like, oh, that's outrageous. But then what if the true story is showing that this actually hadn't happened, and people are just attacking a person for a reason? Having the ability to think for yourself, as you've portrayed here, is really strong, and I assume that will probably really help you a lot in your business, and helps you be a great CEO in the future. I assume if that's the path you're going down. Rejuvenate
Thank you, I
Co.
appreciate that. I appreciate that.
My pleasure. I think I'm probably also interested now to ask a little bit more about your business. As you started the business, and you've been around with Rejuvenate Kits for about 4 to 5 months now, if I'm correct in assuming. And I wonder, maybe as the person behind the helm, the one who has all the power over operations but also has to deal with all the customer care queries, what has been the biggest hurdle that you've had to overcome to date?
So many different in so many areas. So an obvious one right now that I'm trying to overcome is getting my business out there more. So getting a larger reach and engagement. And that's hard because social media is a minefield, and you don't know where to invest your time and money. So engagement is one. But that's like a practical business step. But as for actually personal, it's been doing this on my own, acting on my feet, and having to take all of this. It's all in my head and no one else's. It's not like I can have a meeting and be like, do you know what, I'm stuck, what do you guys think? I say that in my own head, like,
Yeah, you can't tell
okay,
your
Beth,
family,
what do
can you?
think? No,
Family are
and
just going to get it to an extent, aren't they?
yeah, it's hard because obviously I've got so much support, but it is an individual thing, and anyone that owns a business and runs a business themselves and
Yeah.
solely on their own will understand that. So I think it's trying to overcome things and just be great at everything, because no one's great at everything, but when you are running a business on your own, you're kind of made to be great at everything.
For real.
You have to just do everything. And the third thing I would say is the isolation, really. Like, it can be lonely,
For real.
because you're working on a project and it's no one else's project, and it takes a lot of time. And I know that I launched in July, and really nothing else has happened in my life since July. It's just been all of this, and it's, yes, I've created an amazing thing and been productive in the past 4 or 5 months, but as a result, like, I haven't taken time off over the summer when people are going on holiday and doing their great things. I would love to be swimming with tropical fish. Like,
Oh yeah,
that's what I want to be
Barbados
doing.
and that.
Yeah, I love that kind of thing. I love experiences, but sacrifices have to be made, and the bits you don't see is me working hard every single day of the summer. So it's isolated because you do that on your own. It's a lot of time by yourself.
I see. Did you ever think of quitting at any point in the process?
No, I never thought about quitting. There were times that I felt struggle. So it was like, oh, I don't know, I can't do this. But when I say I can't do this, it's like, I can't do this email marketing, or I can't do this right now. It would never go beyond to actually quit. I just don't quit. I can't quit in anything, really, unless it's for my best interest. No, it just can't happen because I haven't given it my all yet. Like, I've only just beginning. So, and there's also no better option. I thought about quitting, like, university sometimes, and like when I first went and I was really struggling and I wasn't fully recovered. But then I thought, okay, if I had this choice again, would I do the same thing? And it's yes. I wouldn't change anything. So then it's just showing that this is the right path. This is just the hard part of the path.
Wow. I'm curious to know, what's the most valuable lesson so far that you've learned in general?
I think my most valuable lesson, I think beyond like the kind of trivial things like this works, this doesn't work, this works, but the people that are there for you, and the people that always have their hand out, always want something in return, and the people that are genuine as well. I think for me, arrogance is the worst trait in someone, and every characteristic comes from arrogance. It all stems from arrogance. So if you're someone selfish or ignorant, it all comes from arrogance. And when launching a business, I've seen the people that are literally my cheerleaders, who I'm so grateful for, and that make my heart warm, and just have so much humility that they can support someone else willingly, and they will support them, and it doesn't affect them. And there are some people that wouldn't do it, and wouldn't do it through gritted teeth. And I just find that crazy, because someone else's success does not limit or impact your own. And the competitiveness has just shone for me. And also, we mentioned this before the call, as well as that, also people that do come calling back after they've wronged you in the past is interesting also, because they kind of sniff a bit of success, or, oh, so and so's going somewhere, or Beth's doing something interesting here, let me cling on and rise with her. It's like, when I was at my lowest, that's when the people show their true colors. So I think it's been a life lesson more than a business lesson.
Yeah, it's crazy, isn't it? Being absolutely isolated and then feeling completely lonely. Nobody's there. Even some closest friends who we thought were like our family, in a sense, really close people to us, they won't be there for you. That gives me like a little bit of frustration, not trusting everybody to an extent, but also not giving people chances, because you should always give people a shot. The one biggest issue with me when I was younger is I would immediately form a judgment from like a first impression, and then what I learned to do over time was to understand a little bit more and give people a chance, but also realize that we can't show ourselves in a couple of sentences, but through a proper discussion we can learn through experience, relatability, all of that stuff. And I wonder, for yourself, what's the biggest lesson that you've learned in life so far, or one of the most important ones?
About myself. My first thought when you said that was about myself. I probably, when I was 15, 16, like a lot of teenagers though, you're so young, just was very like just standard like everyone else. Like, who was I? I probably just copied other people and just went along with things. Now I know who I am so much more. I know what I'm doing. and I'm not mucking about with my time. And I think
that's deep.
I think as well, I think it's taught me like I had to buckle up and just like get a grip really, but not in a
For real.
bad way. But a lot of people in their 20s or so, like I'm 22, just still are just finding themselves, whether that's through traveling or through jobs or relationships. And at 17, I went through that so much earlier than other people were, and that created a barrier between me and a lot of other people, because I went to uni like, right, I've just arrived at uni, I've just fought cancer this year, I've just thought about, okay, what do I actually want to do with my life? And I'm turning up to uni, and that's when people are going mad the most, like drinking and being paralytic and just going crazy because this is the first time they've been allowed out. So I was on such a different wavelength, and I think that is why at 22 I'm doing this and having to say no to a lot of things, and because I've chosen that path and I'm already down it, whereas some people haven't even chosen that path yet, if that makes sense.
I see. Yeah, it's that moment where you wake up. I mean, I'm sure a lot of our listeners can relate. For me, when I was younger, I think I was 11, it was a little bit more of a darker story. A close friend of mine had taken his own life. And that for me was a really dark moment, because I thought, I've always got my friends around me to talk to. And I wasn't as close with my family, purely because I was a kid. I think I just wanted to go to my room and play games and, go on Xbox and tell my friends, yo, you guys playing this game later or whatever, FIFA, Minecraft or whatever. And I used to come back. But then when that happened, I woke up and I realized that, damn, I need to embrace some kind of individuality. And a lot of people go through that same thing. Not obviously that exact situation which I was placed in, but more so the whole realization, as you've mentioned. And it could happen later on in people's lives. The earlier it happens, I guess, the earlier we can sit down and think, okay, let me work at this plan and then go for it. And I mean, for you, it really, really worked well for you, which is great to see. I mean, you were in college from, what was it, February to March? I think you had your 4 months of chemo cycles, and then you took your exams, Mrs. AAA, A star, some grades that people who are working from the beginning of the year in perfectly good health struggle to get. I mean, right now I'm struggling and I only take 3 A levels. I mean, that's really impressive. You did that, you went straight to uni. You really are an inspiration to many people out there, which is, you should definitely be proud of yourself. And thank you once again for coming on.
Because, thank you. I find that so difficult to hear, but thank you.
Yeah, I know. Trust me, I hate hearing nice stuff too. But look, we have to acknowledge the truth.
Oh gosh, I'm just smiling like, oh God, this is so hard to hear. But thank you, I appreciate it. It takes humility. Thank you.
I mean, I think I would probably, if I was listening to this podcast, I would really want to know, before I started my business, I wanted to know what would be some advice from people who've already been there? And obviously, we've both been there. And with my episodes, I talk about this quite a lot. But I'm interested to hear, hopefully, your side of what advice would you give to someone who would want to start their own business and maybe just take that leap? How would you kind of advise them if you could?
I would say, firstly, link passion to profit. So don't always focus on bottom line profit and your numbers and your margins, because that's not what sells. That obviously makes profitable business. You need awareness of that. And I think if you're not business minded in that sense, try and rope someone in to help you. But what really is like the recipe for success is someone that is creative. So it's creating something that people need. So you need to offer a value where if that is a gap, or something that hasn't yet been invented, as well as making it profitable. So I think you need both sides of the coin. Some people struggle with being both, because it's almost like creative. It's like having artistic, innovative characteristics as well as being analytic and data driven and almost maths orientated. But I think that's the ideal recipe for success. I would say, secondly, two more points really. Be prepared to work without a lot of return at the start, and to work harder than you've ever known, and to not fall into the trap of social media. I think there is a massive hype right now that being an entrepreneur is incredible. It's lounging on yachts in Dubai all day, and it's
expectation
the mega rich
versus reality.
Literally, and that's created by some of the people on Instagram that are entrepreneurs, but maybe they are, I don't know, reality stars, or they have a platform because they've been on TV. So of course, if I sold a product after being on a TV show, it would be easier because the audience is already there. So, but I don't think that is a realistic view of entrepreneurs as a whole. So I think just try and distance yourself from that, otherwise you'll feel really rubbish about yourself.
Yeah.
I feel like you're not doing a great job. And I think my third thing kind of links to that you will start to think differently. You'll start to think about time differently, productivity differently, relationships differently, and maybe your relationships will change in your personal life. I don't think business and personal life is completely separate. Since my business life has changed, my personal life has, in terms of who I now want to spend time with, and also relationships have formed, others have broken down, just because some people get it and some people don't. So I think that's important to be aware of.
That's quite cool. I mean, with the whole part about people showing a reality that's not really true, I think with the investor community, that's really, really present. I can definitely say firsthand, being an investor, for me, the reality of investing is not sitting down in a pool and having a laptop and just placing a position or looking at some charts. The reality is stressed, shaking at your desk with a bottle of water, maybe a coffee or something, and then analyzing statements. And statements and statements upon statements. But then I go on Instagram and I see these advertisers of forex traders who are going in private planes that they've rented for the day, but they obviously don't mention that. They'll go in these private planes and they'll say that, oh, become a trader, live this lavish style and whatever, pay for my course. In reality, the real paid courses are like going to uni and doing another year of something, but that kind of equivalent. It's crazy. And I mean, the whole thing of working hard, separating business life and personal life is totally understandable. A lot of people say you can just go straight out of the workplace, you can come home, and then you'll talk to your family about nothing to do with your business. But in reality, it's always in your mind, isn't it?
Yeah.
You're always thinking about it. I could be with my friends bowling, and I'm thinking, damn, I didn't do that right. I need to change this thing. I don't know how to escape it, but I wonder maybe to ask you, you've been through one of the largest difficulties, as you've obviously mentioned, with fighting stage 2A Hodgkin's lymphoma, a form of cancer. That is amazing. Now, to have fought that, you must have had a really strong mindset. You must have had some kind of coping mechanisms. And even in business, have you got any of those that you can maybe share with us, those coping mechanisms that can help you in your business?
This is definitely something I need to work on. So the strength comes from just inner strength, but I tend to push myself. So I said this before we started recording. I tend to push myself so I deliver results, which on the outside looking in is great. But the cost of that is that I overwork myself a lot. And I think it's not as easy as saying, like, what are your coping mechanisms? Because it's not straight away. So I'm trying to work on this myself. This is where I need to improve. I hate when people say my issue, what's wrong with me is that I work too hard, because that's like one of those things on the CV that's like, oh yeah, of course it is. I'm too amazing. But genuinely, I can't switch off, and that means that me time and looking after myself is sacrificed, and that's not healthy. Like, it's genuinely not good to work too hard, because you never switch off. Your quality of sleep is deprived. You can't sleep. Other things in your life are sacrificed. You never feel like you switch off, and I need to work on this. So it's about there's like a big movement towards self-care and stuff, I know, on social media, and my product kind of links to that. It's about taking the time to actually say, this is my cut-off time, like it would be a 9 to 5, and I recommend that to other people. So I would recommend that my best advice for coping mechanisms, whether you're having a stressful day in your business, whether it's going great or not, is saying, I don't care what's happening, I'm going out, or I'm meeting this person at 5 p.m. on Saturday or 3 p.m. on Sunday, whatever it may be, and it means you have to stop and you have to take a break, because otherwise you just get exhausted and your mental health just goes too far and you'll become anxious and stressed. And yes, it's important, yes, you're giving everything, but your life is more important. But I'm finding that tough to do, but I'm trying to get there with that.
No, I relate to you exactly there, to be honest. My parents are coming to me a lot of the time saying, Ryan, you've got to go outside, you've got to switch off your screens, you've got to probably hang out with your friends more. And I said, Dad, I'm not really feeling hanging out with these guys tonight. I've got some stuff to do. In reality, when I don't have stuff to do, I sit down and I think about doing more stuff. But in reality, it gets really inefficient. That's the problem, isn't it?
And it's hard to say. You're like, you always have more stuff to do. I'm always saying that I've got things to do. I've got things to do, but it never ends. Like
Yeah.
it will never. It's not like a 9 to 5 or even homework at school or something where it gets done. Business doesn't get done because you can always be better, and you can always talk to yourself like, I haven't done enough. And when you don't have a strict me time, it will just go on throughout the night and through the evening.
It's crazy, isn't it? I could be sitting down contemplating for like 2-3 hours about reading a book. I need to read the most efficient thing of my time. So then I read the book and I've only got 20 minutes. I'm rushing through it and then I'm feeling nauseous and stressed and I don't know what to do. But then it's on to the next thing, on to the next thing. I mean, the other day I went to the gym and I brought a book with me. I shouldn't be doing that. I should just be playing the music in my ear. And a lot of us in business, I think one of our biggest mistakes is, as you said, working ourselves too hard. Obviously, it's very generic to say, oh, my biggest issue is working too hard. Yeah. But it's almost like an illness or an addiction to just working on something, because we know where we want to be, but we don't know how long it's going to take. And if we don't achieve it in our lifetime, we want to make sure we don't have a regret about there was an opportunity cost elsewhere, you know?
Yeah, but it's a catch-22 because it's so frustrating to hear. Like, I was talking to someone who's also in business, and she was like, don't be too hard on yourself. Like, you're growing, you're only 4 or 5 months. Like, it's only a small thing. And I'm like, don't say it's only a small thing. Like, it's not. I want to be bigger. I want to be better. And it's like, someone can't tell you to switch off because it's frustrating. It's like, you've done enough already. And it's like, who are you to say I haven't done enough? I haven't met these targets. I haven't done this. But then you need to. You genuinely need to.
It's funny you mentioned that, to be honest, because a lot of people say, enjoy your youth, enjoy your 20s, enjoy your 30s, enjoy your 40s, enjoy every moment of your life. But then when are we going to work? It's so unrealistic.
Yeah, I hate that saying because but I think that's the mainstream thing. Like, enjoy your 20s, enjoy it. But that's if you want to enjoy your 20s, and then work. Like, as a result, you will be working in your 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, and for your pension beyond. So that's great for some people. That I am not disregarding that. It's what works for you and what makes you happy. Happiness is paramount. But if you want a different way of life, then I might not be laying on a sun lounger on a Mediterranean cruise drinking sangrias. Like, right now for me is the work time, and I hope to do that later in life. But that's my
Highland Spring water.
Yeah. Oh, I love Highland Spring.
that's my go-to drink in the evening. My red Highland Spring water.
Yeah, well, I love Highland Spring water.
It's so
fresh. A lemon and lime.
Oh yeah, you know what? Let's level up to Schlur. You know, the non-alcoholic dream. But I completely get what you're saying about that. A lot of us, we just have to break. But I wonder for yourself, with all the work that you're doing right now, I wonder, what are your ambitions for the future? Obviously, you've got yourself and then you've got your business too.
I hope to grow the business. So first and foremost, it creates an impact, a legacy, because I truly believe that money just magnifies what a person already is. So if you are greedy to the core, give them money and they will use it to spend and be greedy. If you give someone that is warm and conscientious and selfless money, then they will use that money in a completely different way. So I would love to create a legacy for my business, to make business ethical as well. I don't want to be given a position of power and a platform and all of these things to use it wrongly. I just can't do that. I just can't make those my actions. And then to make the business grow, obviously to grow financially as well, I'd love to systemize it so I can take more of a backseat and have like overarching power to create big decisions. But as for the daily tasks, outsource those to make it just a bit more sustainable for me and for me to have a life as well.
Are you thinking of any new products in the pipeline for a new market? Because you've obviously got a really new, actually not new, you've got a really impressive skill that has been for designing these products. I mean, honestly, if I looked at them, I thought, damn, this shampoo looks really nice. I might have to cop one myself. I mean, any mass market?
I'm thinking of focusing on this as my core product, the cancer care kit, as the primary product. But in the future, I'd love to extend to wider kits, so really approach the wider audience, so it's less niche. And then I'd love to be able to offer the refills, so the individuals. At the moment, I've had a lot of demand for the individual products, but right now I need to just focus on the one, because otherwise I'll be spreading myself too thin. But yeah, growth upwards and outwards.
That's wonderful. That's really nice. I look forward to seeing those products. I wonder, what about for yourself? If you pass the time of the business, I mean, for myself, when somebody asks me, what do you want to do in the future? I just want to take a year and travel around the world or something and disappear from the whole atmosphere. But I wonder, what about yourself, for you after business has worked out for you and you're relaxing with your millions? What do you do then?
I would love to live. Just I'd love to have my own family. I'm just massive. That's just, it's weird being business related but also being really family orientated. Sometimes it feels like the two can't coexist, but that's what I really want. Just a really tight knit family, my own family, and to travel. Experiences are just the top for me beyond materialistic things. Really not bothered about materials, but to be able to do those with the people that I love and to have my business still standing strong and operating is my goal, really, and that will come through growth.
Nice. Here's a quick fire question. If you could go to any country in the world, in the entire world, right, which one would it be and why?
Right now or at any point in my life?
Let's just say sat down, retired, balling, feet up on the desk. You can get one of those fancy chairs where you can recline the back. I mean, I'm using a kitchen chair right now, but where would you think, okay, globe in front of me, which country am I going to next?
Okay, so I would say probably Indonesia, Philippines right now, because I went to China last year, and that was like my first time in Asia, and I loved it. It was a real eye opener, but I know that that's vastly different to other areas in Asia, and I would just love to do kind of more tropical island hopping, but away from touristic just areas, just doing my own thing and just having just back to nature. I hate kind of like touristic holiday sites and just like buffet food and all, basically going away and seeing all your neighbours. Like I don't want to see anyone English.
Oh yes, let's all go Malaga. Excuse me, miss, can you take a picture? Oh wait, weren't you my teacher in primary school?
Yeah, honestly, you realise they're from your hometown and things. I'd love just to have the flexibility, and I think the business offers you that potential to do it when you want and where you want. But to be honest, I haven't really touched on travelling much at all, so I would love to just experience so many places in the world.
I see, you've got your head down, you're ready to work. As soon as it happens, you know, you must enjoy the life.
Yes, 100%. We can't get too wrapped up, because you've got to enjoy life. It's what it is for. Like when everything is said and done, that's what you remember. That's like the real heartwarming stuff. Remember to live.
For real. I mean, I'm hoping to go back home to where my ethnic origins lay in Iran, but in an area that's bordering Azerbaijan and Iran. It's called Tabriz, and that's the place where my family are mostly concentrated. I've been working a lot for the past 5-6 years. I just want to go there, sit back, relax, and reconnect with my roots, you know, just go back and see the family and the food. Oh my goodness. I mean, if you haven't had Persian cuisine, look at the nearest one. And if we're ever in the same town, kebabs, that's the motive.
Oh, lovely. Yeah, well, that's it. But that just warms you in a different way that business doesn't necessarily. You can't forget about those heartwarming times. Because you're human. Like you have the family instincts in you. You have like those instincts, and you just can't neglect those as much as business is great.
For real, we can never leave our roots.
No. Levi roots. See what you did there.
Levi roots. This is the best business podcast. And on that note, Beth, where can people find out more about you and your business?
So we are on Instagram at Rejuvenate Kits, and then our website is rejuvenatekits.com. Just reach out to us on social media. We're always active every single day, answering questions, putting out polls, getting you involved. But yeah, there's so many more nitty-gritty details on the website.
Wonderful. Rejuvenatekits.com. That's the site, right?
Yeah, rejuvenatekits.com. Thank you so much for having me.
Perfect. Thank you for coming on the show, Beth. I really enjoyed hearing your story, and I'm sure we'll be watching your business grow from strength to strength in the future.
Thank you.
Perfect. All right. Yo, that's gassed me up. I really enjoyed it. Thank you so much, honestly, Beth. Thank you again.